Hello and welcome to Calm Mind, a place where thoughts are allowed to slow down. You don't need to make anything happen or arrive anywhere. Right now, your only invitation is to be here. Just this. Just you. Just resting. Let your shoulders soften. Let your jaw release. Allow your eyelids to grow heavy in their own time. No rush. Let's close the door on the day together and begin. As you lie here in the darkness, something remarkable is happening inside your head. Something ancient, automatic, and extraordinarily sophisticated. Your brain is shifting into night mode, quietly, gradually, without you having to manage any of it. It's been doing this every night of your life, this intricate transition from day mode to night mode, from waking consciousness to sleep, from the bright alert thinking of daytime to the deep restoration of night. Tonight, I want to walk you through what's happening, not to teach you or test you, but to help you trust it, to help you recognize that this transition is already underway, already happening, and you don't have to force or control any of it. If these gentle journeys are meaningful to you, I invite you to like, subscribe, or share a reflection below. It helps other restless minds find their way here. But for now, your only task is to relax. Your brain knows how to do this. It has been perfecting this process for your entire life, for generations before you, for millions of years of human evolution. And tonight, like every night, it will guide you from wakefulness into sleep with such elegant precision that you don't even have to think about it. In fact, the less you think about it, the more smoothly it happens. The more you can relax into the process, trust the process, allow the process, the more naturally sleep will arrive. You might wonder, why explain the science? Won't that engage my thinking brain when I'm trying to quiet it? I've found something interesting. When people understand what's naturally happening in their brain as they fall asleep, they stop fighting it. They stop worrying that something is wrong when their thoughts get foggy or when they lose track of where they are in the meditation. Because all of that, the mental fog, the drifting attention, the thoughts that don't quite make sense anymore, the strange sensations of floating or falling or dissolving, that's not failure. That's your brain successfully transitioning into night mode. The Vietnamese Buddhist monk Thich Nhat Hanh teaches that understanding is love's other name. When you understand something, you can meet it with less fear, less resistance, more trust. So tonight, As I explain what your brain is doing as it shifts towards sleep, I'm offering you understanding. And with that understanding, I hope, comes trust. Trust that this process is already working. Trust that you can let it happen. Trust that your brain is far wiser at this than your conscious mind could ever be. You don't have to remember any of this. You don't have to understand it perfectly or follow every word. The information is here for you to absorb in whatever way serves you, consciously, unconsciously, or not at all. Your brain will take what it needs and let the rest drift away. Right now, as you lie here in the darkness, your brain is responding to the absence of light in powerful, automatic ways. Throughout the day, light entering your eyes has been signaling to a tiny cluster of cells in your brain called the suprachiasmatic nucleus, your body's internal master clock, no bigger than a grain of rice but controlling the rhythm of your entire day. This clock has been saying all day long, stay alert, stay awake, it's daytime, there's light, there are things to do, things to notice, things to respond to. But now, in the darkness, in the quiet, that signal is fading. The absence of light is allowing your pineal gland, a small, pine cone-shaped structure deep in your brain, to begin releasing melatonin, the chemical messenger that tells every cell in your body, it's time for night mode. You might feel this as a gentle heaviness in your eyelids, like they're being softly weighted down. A softness in your thinking, like your thoughts are moving through something thick and warm. A quiet pulling towards sleep, like a tide gently drawing you out. This isn't something you're creating through effort or will. This is something happening to you, happening for you. Your brain, recognizing the conditions for sleep, is automatically beginning its transition. Chemistry shifting, networks quieting, consciousness dimming. And here's what's beautiful. You can trust this process completely. It's been refined over millions of years of evolution, through countless generations of humans who survived because their brains knew how to rest at night. Your brain inherits all that wisdom. It knows exactly what to do. When I say your brain is shifting into night mode, what does that actually mean? What changes? The networks that keep you alert and vigilant, that process sensory information from the world around you, that maintain your sense of time and place and self, all of these have been fully engaged from the moment you woke up. But now, as you lie here in the dark, those daytime networks are beginning to quiet. Not all at once. That would be jarring, disorienting. Instead, gradually, in stages, like lights dimming slowly in a theater, the brain doesn't flip a switch from awake to asleep. It gracefully transitions through multiple phases, each one bringing you closer to sleep. First, the prefrontal cortex, that analytical, problem-solving part, begins to go offline. This is why your thinking might feel less sharp right now, less logical, less linear. Thoughts drift from one thing to another without clear connection. That's not a problem. That's not your mind misbehaving. That's the first phase of night mode activating. Then, the thalamus, your brain's sensory relay station, the gatekeeper that decides what information reaches your conscious awareness, starts to close its gates. Sounds become less intrusive, less demanding of your attention. The feeling of the bed beneath you, the pillow under your head, the blanket over your body, these sensations become less distinct, more vague. Your brain is filtering out the world so you can turn inward. And deep in your brainstem, in the most ancient parts of your brain, specialized sleep centers are waking up, releasing neurochemicals that actively promote sleep. It's not just that wakefulness is fading, sleep is being actively turned on. Your brain is choosing rest. The ancient Greek philosopher Heraclitus said, "No man ever steps in the same river twice, for it's not the same river and is not the same man." Each night, as your brain shifts into night mode, you are changed. Literally, physically, neurologically changed. The person who wakes tomorrow will not be exactly the person lying here now. Sleep transforms us, restores us, reorganizes us, renews us at the cellular level. But to receive that transformation, you have to let go. You have to allow the day version of you to dissolve so the night version can emerge. You have to release your grip on waking consciousness so sleep consciousness can arrive. This is what's happening right now, whether you're aware of it or not. The alert, thinking, doing, controlling version of you is fading, and in its place, the resting, restoring, dreaming, receiving version is arriving. You don't have to manage this transition. You don't have to orchestrate it or monitor it or make sure it's happening correctly. You just have to allow it. Trust that your brain knows how to navigate from day to night, from waking to sleep, from one state of consciousness to another entirely different state. The poet Rumi wrote, "Let yourself be silently drawn by the strange pull of what you really love. It will not lead you astray." Tonight, Let yourself be silently drawn by the strange pull of sleep. Don't question it. Don't resist it. Don't try to control it. Just allow yourself to be drawn. Trust that it will not lead you astray. Your brain knows where it's going. It's been going there every night of your life. While your brain is shifting modes, your body is preparing too. Everything is coordinating for this transition. Brain and body working together in beautiful synchrony. Your core body temperature is dropping slightly, about 1 to 2 degrees Fahrenheit over the course of the evening. This temperature drop is one of the most reliable signals that tells your brain it's time for sleep. Your body cooling is your body preparing for rest. Your heart rate is slowing, beat by beat, as your cardiovascular system shifts into its nighttime rhythm. Your blood pressure is lowering. Your breath is deepening, becoming more regular, more rhythmic. Your muscles are releasing the tension they held all day, tension you might not have even realized you were carrying. Not because you're forcing them to relax, but because your nervous system is shifting from sympathetic activation, the fight or flight state, into parasympathetic mode, the rest and digest, rest and restore state. Feel it if you can. The way your shoulders have already softened since you lay down, dropping a fraction of an inch toward the bed. The way your jaw is less clenched, your teeth slightly parted. The way your hands, if they were curled tight, are gently opening, palms releasing their grip. All of this is your body following your brain's lead, transitioning into night mode alongside it. They work together, brain and body, mind and flesh, orchestrating this elegant descent into sleep. You are a unified system, and that system is choosing rest. Here's what I want you to hear clearly, to take into your heart. You don't have to be asleep yet. You're in transition. And transition is exactly where you should be right now. So many people lie in bed worrying that they're not falling asleep fast enough, that they're doing it wrong, that sleep should have arrived by now, that something must be broken or failing. But sleep doesn't arrive suddenly for most people. It doesn't switch on like a light. It arrives through transition, through the gradual dimming of waking consciousness, through the gentle shift from day mode to night mode, from alertness to drowsiness to sleep. You're in that transition right now, and that's perfect. That's exactly the process working as it should. You're exactly where you need to be. The transition might be quick tonight, a few minutes from wakefulness to sleep, or it might be slow, an hour or more of drifting in that in-between state. Both are normal. Both are your brain finding its way into sleep in the way that's right for you tonight. There's no wrong way to transition. There's no timeline you should be following. Your brain will take the time it needs. And your job, your only job, is to allow it that time without judgment, without pressure, without anxiety. Let me describe what you might be experiencing right now, so you can recognize it as the natural process of night mode engaging. You might notice your thoughts becoming less coherent, less logical. They drift from topic to topic without clear transition. You might think about breakfast tomorrow and then suddenly find yourself remembering something from 3rd grade. These thought leaps, these non sequiturs, they're not random. They're your brain's default mode network activating, the network that becomes dominant when task-focused thinking goes offline. You might feel like you're losing track of time. Was that 5 minutes ago or 20? You're not quite sure. The usual markers of time passing have become vague, imprecise, unreliable. That's because the brain regions that track time are going offline as part of the shift to night mode. You might experience strange sensations, a feeling of floating or falling or expanding. Your sense of your body's boundaries might become unclear. Where does your hand end and the bed begin? You're not quite sure anymore. This is normal. This is your brain's body map, your proprioception, becoming less precise as consciousness dims. You might see fleeting images behind your closed eyes, colors, shapes, faces that appear and disappear without clear meaning. These are called hypnagogic hallucinations, and they're completely normal. They're your brain experimenting with dreamlike imagery as it transitions between waking and sleeping consciousness. All of these experiences, the drifting thoughts, the time distortion, the strange sensations, the fleeting images, all of these are signs that night mode is working. Signs that your brain is successfully making the transition. Signs that you're doing it right. So if you're experiencing any of this, good. If you're feeling strange or disoriented or unlike your usual waking self, perfect. That's not a problem. That's the process. That's your brain shifting modes. The first signs of night mode are subtle. You might barely notice them, but they're profound. They represent the beginning of a complete transformation in how your brain operates. Have you noticed that your thoughts have become less linear, less purposeful, They drift from one thing to another without clear connection, without your intention, almost as if they have their own will. This isn't mind wandering in the way it happens during the day, when you're supposed to be focusing on something but find yourself thinking about lunch instead. This is something different, something deeper. This is your brain's default mode network activating, the network that becomes dominant when your task-focused networks go quiet. The default mode network is often called the narrative self network because it's involved in thinking about yourself, remembering your past, imagining your future, understanding social situations. During the day, you could hold a train of thought. You could follow an argument from premise to conclusion with clear logical progression. But now your mind might jump from a conversation you had this morning to wondering what you'll have for breakfast tomorrow, to a random memory from childhood, to noticing the sound of your own breath, all within seconds, with no clear thread connecting them. That's not random. That's your brain beginning its night mode work, making unexpected connections between distant memories and experiences, processing the day's events in non-linear ways, preparing for the memory consolidation work that will happen during sleep. So if you find yourself losing track of what I'm saying, drifting into your own thoughts, coming back after a few sentences and realizing you haven't been following along, that's good. That's night mode beginning. That's your brain doing exactly what it should be doing to prepare for sleep. The Persian poet Hafiz wrote, "I wish I could show you, when you are lonely or in darkness, the astonishing light of your own being." In this drifting state, as thoughts wander and attention floats, you're actually closer to the astonishing light of your own being than you are during focused, task-oriented daytime consciousness. The wandering mind is the creative mind, the connecting mind, the mind that sees patterns and possibilities. This drifting is not a failure of focus, it's a gift. Another sign of night mode: time becomes strange, unreliable, almost meaningless. You might have been lying here for what feels like 5 minutes, or might have been 30. You're not quite sure. The usual internal sense of time passing, the one that helps you estimate how long you've been waiting, how much time has elapsed, has become vague, imprecise, slippery. This is because the brain regions that normally track time, parts of your prefrontal cortex, parts of your parietal lobe, the cerebellum, are going offline as part of the shift to night mode. Time tracking requires active neural processing, and as your brain quiets those processes to conserve energy for sleep, your sense of time tracking goes with them. In deep sleep, you'll lose time awareness completely. Hours will pass in what feels like moments, or moments will stretch into what feels like hours. But even now, in this transition phase, time is already becoming less linear, less measured, less bound by the clock. This can feel disorienting if you're not expecting it. You might wonder, have I been here a long time? Should I be asleep by now? How long until morning? But when you understand that this time distortion is normal, is expected, is part of the process, it becomes almost comforting. The release from clock time, from schedules, from the measured precision of the day. You don't have to track time anymore. You can let it become fluid, vague, dreamlike. The Zen teacher Shunryu Suzuki spoke of beginner's mind, the mind that meets each moment fresh, without preconception, without the burden of knowing what's supposed to happen next. In a way, as your brain shifts into night mode and time becomes unreliable, you return to beginner's mind. Each moment arrives new, unconnected to the ones before, unpressured by the ones to come. You're not late, you're not behind schedule, you're not taking too long. You're just here, in this timeless space between waking and sleep. Notice, too, how the world around you is becoming less distinct, less demanding of your attention, less interesting to your brain. Sounds that would have pulled your focus during the day, a car passing outside, the house settling, distant voices, a dog barking blocks away. Now they drift by without catching you. They're there, you might vaguely notice them, but they're not pulling you toward them. They don't engage you. This is your thalamus beginning to filter sensory input more aggressively. During waking hours, your thalamus acts as a relay station, passing almost every sound, every sensation, every bit of sensory information through to your cortex for conscious processing. But as you shift into night mode, it starts closing its gates. Less gets through. The world becomes muffled, distant, less relevant. Even the sensation of your body against the bed might be fading. The specific feeling of the pillow under your head, the weight of the blanket over your chest, the pressure of the mattress against your back, these become vague, less precise, less consistently present in your awareness. Your brain is literally turning down the volume on the external world so it can begin its internal night work. It's saying, I don't need to monitor the environment right now. It's safe. I can turn my attention inward. Let this happen. Let the world recede. You don't need to be alert to it right now. You don't need to track every sound, every sensation. Your brain is creating the quiet, the internal space, the mental darkness it needs for sleep to arrive. And this receding world, this is not isolation or disconnection from life. This is your brain wisely choosing where to allocate its limited attention. It's choosing inner restoration over outer vigilance. It's choosing you. There's a specific phase of falling asleep that has a name: hypnagogia. It's the transitional state between wakefulness and sleep, and it's where you might be right now, or where you'll be soon. In hypnagogia, strange and wonderful things can happen. You might see fleeting images behind your closed eyes, geometric shapes, colors swirling, faces of people you don't recognize, brief scenes that appear and disappear like flashes of lightning. These aren't quite dreams yet, but they're not waking thoughts either. There's something in between. You might hear sounds that aren't there, voices, music, your name being called, or feel like you're floating above the bed, or falling through it, or expanding beyond the boundaries of your body. Sometimes people experience what's called a hypnic jerk, a sudden muscle spasm that jolts them awake, often accompanied by a feeling of falling. This happens when the muscle atonia, the natural paralysis that comes with sleep, starts to engage, and your brain briefly misinterprets this as falling, sending a wake-up signal to catch yourself. All of this is completely normal. All of this is your brain in transition, exploring the space between wake and sleep, trying out different modes of consciousness, experimenting with the dreamlike imagery and sensations that will dominate later in the night. The poet Mary Oliver wrote, "You do not have to be good. You do not have to walk on your knees for 100 miles through the desert, repenting. You only have to let the soft animal of your body love what it loves." In hypnagogia, you don't have to make sense. You don't have to be logical or coherent or in control. You can let the soft animal of your brain love what it loves, the strange images, the surreal sensations, the non-linear flow of experience. You're allowed to be weird here. You're allowed to be strange. This is your brain being creative, being free, being exactly what it needs to be to transition into sleep. One of the biggest shifts your brain makes in night mode is releasing vigilance, the constant background monitoring for threats, for tasks, for things that need attention. All day, part of your brain has been on guard. Even when you were relaxing, even when you were doing something enjoyable, there was a background monitoring process running. Watching, checking, making sure everything is okay, that you're not forgetting something important, that no danger is approaching. This vigilance is exhausting, even though you barely notice it most of the time. It's like having a security guard constantly patrolling your mind, and that guard needs a lot of energy to stay alert. But sleep requires the release of that vigilance. You cannot sleep while remaining alert for threats. The two states are fundamentally incompatible. To sleep is to become vulnerable, to release conscious control, to trust that you'll be safe while unconscious. So your brain, as it shifts into night mode, begins to release its guard. Slowly, carefully, checking that the environment is safe before it fully lets go. This is why where you sleep matters so much. Why darkness and quiet and comfort help. Why you have a harder time sleeping in unfamiliar places or when you don't feel safe. But tonight, in your own bed, in the dark, with the door closed and the world quiet, your brain can recognize it's safe to release vigilance. It's safe to let the guard go off duty. It's safe to become vulnerable to sleep. If you're having trouble letting go of that vigilance, if part of you feels like you need to stay alert, I want you to hear this. Your conscious vigilance is not what keeps you safe while you sleep. Your unconscious brain will continue to monitor for genuine threats, loud noises, physical danger, serious disruptions. It won't let you sleep through an earthquake or a fire alarm. What your conscious mind needs to release is the vigilance for everyday worries. The monitoring for things you might have forgotten, tasks you need to complete, decisions you need to make. Those can wait. Those will still be there in the morning. Right now, your brain needs to stop monitoring them so it can rest. So take a breath, and with the exhale, let that vigilance soften just a little. You don't have to release it all at once. Just a little. Just enough to let night mode deepen. There's beautiful chemistry happening in your brain right now. A symphony of molecules orchestrating your shift into sleep. Let me show you what they're doing. Earlier I mentioned melatonin, the sleep hormone your pineal gland releases in response to darkness. But let me tell you more about what it's actually doing, because it's more interesting than you might think. Melatonin doesn't make you sleep directly, the way a sleeping pill might knock you out. It's more sophisticated than that. Melatonin is a messenger, traveling through your bloodstream, reaching every cell in your body with the same simple message. It's nighttime. Shift into night mode. Prepare for rest. In response to this chemical message, your cells begin changing their activity patterns at the most fundamental level. Gene expression shifts. Literally, different genes turn on and off depending on whether your body thinks it's day or night. Genes that promote cell repair and restoration turn on. Genes related to energy expenditure and stress response turn down. Your immune system, receiving melatonin's message, ramps up its nighttime work, producing more infection-fighting cells, releasing anti-inflammatory compounds, targeting abnormal cells for destruction. Your digestive system slows down its activity. You don't need to digest food right now. That energy can go to restoration instead. Your cardiovascular system shifts into rest mode, heart rate slowing, blood pressure lowering. All because of this one chemical messenger, this simple molecule called melatonin, telling your whole body, night has arrived. It's time to rest. It's safe to restore. Right now, melatonin levels in your blood are rising. They started rising a couple of hours ago when the sun set, and they'll continue rising for the next few hours, peaking around 2 or 3 a.m. And as they rise, they're helping coordinate this vast, body-wide shift into night mode, every system synchronizing to the same rhythm. You don't have to do anything to make this happen. You don't have to will melatonin into being released. Your pineal gland is doing it automatically, responding to the darkness, fulfilling its ancient function as your body's night shift supervisor. There's another chemical building in your brain throughout the day, adenosine. And this one works differently from melatonin, but it's equally important. Adenosine is a byproduct of neural activity. Every time your neurons fire, every moment of thinking and processing and being conscious creates a tiny amount of adenosine as metabolic waste. And throughout the day, across all the hours of wakefulness, that adenosine has been accumulating in your brain like snow slowly piling up. Adenosine binds to specific receptors in your brain, and the more adenosine that's bound, the stronger the signal. You need sleep. Sleep researchers call this sleep pressure, the growing biological need for sleep that becomes harder and harder to ignore as adenosine levels rise. You've felt this throughout your day, probably without naming it. That growing heaviness, that increasing pull toward rest, that sense that staying awake requires more and more effort as the day wears on. That's adenosine, reaching higher and higher levels, creating more and more pressure for your brain to shut down and sleep. And here's what's beautiful about this system. When you finally sleep, when you give in to that pressure and allow your brain to rest, the adenosine gets cleared away. During sleep, Your brain washes out adenosine through a process we'll talk about more later. It resets your levels to 0. So tomorrow morning, you can wake up without that heavy pressure, without that sleepy pull. You wake refreshed, with low adenosine, ready to begin accumulating it again through another day of being awake. But tonight, right now, adenosine is working for you. It's that gentle biological pressure you feel, that insistent but not forceful push towards sleep. It's not demanding, it's encouraging, inviting, making sleep feel less like a choice and more like a need, a pull, an inevitability. The more hours you've been awake today, the more adenosine has accumulated, the stronger that pressure. And that's good. That's your brain using its own chemistry to guide you toward the rest you need. Your brain runs on neurotransmitters, chemical messengers that neurons use to communicate with each other across the tiny gaps between cells. And day mode and night mode use completely different balances of these chemicals. During the day, neurotransmitters like norepinephrine, which promotes alertness and attention, are high. Serotonin, which helps regulate mood and consciousness, is active. Acetylcholine, crucial for learning and focus, is flowing. Dopamine, which motivates goal-directed behavior, is spurring you forward. These wake-promoting neurotransmitters work together to keep you alert, responsive, engaged with the world. But as the day progresses and you shift toward night mode, the levels of these wake-promoting neurotransmitters begin to drop. Not suddenly. If they dropped suddenly, you'd feel terrible, maybe even crash into depression or confusion. Instead, they decrease gradually, slowly, their levels dropping as evening progresses, creating a smooth chemical transition towards sleep. Meanwhile, other neurochemicals are increasing. GABA, gamma-aminobutyric acid, an inhibitory neurotransmitter that quiets neural activity, begins to rise. GABA is like the brain's brake pedal, slowing things down, reducing excitability, creating calm. As GABA increases, it helps shut down the wake-promoting systems, creating the neurochemical environment that allows sleep to occur. There's also adenosine, which we just discussed, working alongside GABA to promote sleep. And in some parts of your brain, orexin, a neurotransmitter that stabilizes wakefulness, is decreasing, removing one of the barriers to sleep onset. All of these changes, wake-promoting neurotransmitters dropping, sleep-promoting neurochemicals rising, are happening automatically, right now, as you lie here. Your brain is managing these delicate chemical balances on its own, responding to circadian rhythms and sleep pressure, orchestrating the perfect chemical environment for sleep to occur. The ancient Stoic philosopher Marcus Aurelius wrote in his personal journal, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." But there's something else to realize. There are also processes you don't have power over. And that's not just okay, it's a relief. The neurochemical shifts your brain is making right now, this complex dance of molecules that's guiding you towards sleep, that's not in your conscious control. You don't have to manage it. It's being managed for you by systems far more ancient and wise than conscious thought, by biological programs that have kept humans sleeping successfully for hundreds of thousands of years. Your job is not to create these chemical shifts. Your job is to not interfere with them, to create the right conditions, darkness, quiet, stillness, and then let the chemistry do what it knows how to do. When all these chemicals reach the right levels, when melatonin is high enough, when adenosine has accumulated enough, when wake-promoting neurotransmitters are low enough, when GABA and other sleep-promoting chemicals are high enough, something remarkable happens. Your brain crosses a threshold. The balance tips decisively from wake to sleep, and you enter the first stage of actual sleep, not just the transition anymore, but sleep itself. You might not even notice this moment. That's how gentle the transition can be when the chemistry is aligned. You're here, listening, vaguely aware, and then you're not. You've crossed into sleep without marking the passage, without even realizing it happened. Or you might notice it. Some people feel the moment, a sudden softening, a sense of release, a feeling of falling or floating or dissolving, a click into a different state. The subjective experience varies wildly from person to person and night to night, but the underlying chemistry is always the same. All these chemicals working together in beautiful coordination, creating the conditions for sleep. Your brain's internal pharmacy, perfectly managed, delivering exactly the right compounds in exactly the right amounts at exactly the right time. And you don't have to know how it works for it to work. You don't have to understand the chemistry or monitor the levels or help the process along. It happens whether you're paying attention or not, whether you understand it or not, whether you believe in it or not. Sometimes people try to force sleep through external chemistry, supplements, medications, alcohol, anything to override their brain's natural rhythm and force unconsciousness. And sometimes that's necessary. Sometimes the natural system needs support. If you're dealing with chronic insomnia, if your circadian rhythms are disrupted by shift work or jet lag, if anxiety or depression is interfering with your sleep chemistry, sometimes medical intervention is appropriate and helpful. But more often, what's needed is not external chemistry but trust. Trust that your brain is already producing everything it needs for sleep. Trust that the chemistry is already shifting in the right direction. Trust that if you create the right conditions and remove the barriers, sleep will come naturally. Right now, lying here in the dark, your brain is mixing its perfect sleep cocktail. Melatonin rising, adenosine accumulated, wake neurotransmitters dropping, sleep neurochemicals increasing, all being released in precisely calibrated amounts, at precisely the right time, in precisely the right sequence. You don't have to help this process. You don't have to consciously manage your neurotransmitter levels or will more melatonin into production. You just have to not interfere. Just have to create the conditions: darkness, quiet, rest, and let the chemistry do what it knows how to do. And the best way to not interfere, to relax, to let go of control, to trust that your brain's ancient systems are working perfectly right now, even as you listen to these words, even as you drift between attention and dreaminess, between waking and sleep. The sleep will come. The chemistry will align. The threshold will be crossed. You don't have to make it happen. You just have to allow it. Before we move forward, I want to speak directly to something you might be feeling right now. Something that makes this whole process harder than it needs to be. The fear that your brain isn't working right. That somehow you've lost the ability to do this thing that should be so natural, so automatic, so simple. Maybe you're lying here thinking, everyone else can sleep. Everyone else's brain knows how to shift into night mode. Why doesn't mine? What's broken in me? I want to tell you something important. Your brain isn't failing you. It's working exactly as brains work under the conditions you're experiencing. If you're stressed, your brain is producing stress hormones that make sleep harder. That's not failure. That's your brain responding appropriately to perceived threat. If you're anxious about sleep, your brain is staying alert to monitor that anxiety. That's not malfunction. That's your brain doing what anxious brains do. The problem isn't that your brain is broken. The problem is that modern life creates conditions that make the natural sleep transition more difficult. Too much light at night. Too much stress during the day. Too much stimulation. Too little time to wind down. Your brain is trying to shift into night mode under challenging conditions, and it's still trying. It hasn't given up. It hasn't stopped working. It's just working harder than it should have to. So if you're lying here feeling like you've somehow lost the ability to sleep, like your brain has forgotten how to do this, that's not true. Your brain still knows how. The chemistry still shifts. The stages still cycle. The transition still happens. It might take longer than it used to. It might feel harder than it should. It might not happen as smoothly or quickly as you'd like. But your brain is still capable of this, still doing this, still finding its way into night mode, even on the difficult nights, even when it takes hours, even when you doubt it completely. I know it's frustrating when something that used to be easy becomes hard. When you remember falling asleep effortlessly as a child and wonder what happened, what changed, what got lost along the way. But nothing is lost. Your brain still has all the same systems it had then. The suprachiasmatic nucleus is still there, still tracking light and dark. The pineal gland still releases melatonin. Adenosine still accumulates. The sleep stages still exist. What's changed isn't your brain's capacity for sleep. What's changed are the conditions, internal and external, under which you're asking your brain to sleep. And tonight, right now, you're creating better conditions. Darkness, quiet, rest, safety. You're lying down. You're giving your brain the environmental signals it needs. The chemistry is responding. Maybe slowly, maybe imperfectly, but it's responding. Melatonin is rising. Adenosine is present. Wake chemicals are dropping. Your brain is doing what it knows how to do. It's shifting into night mode. It hasn't forgotten how. It hasn't stopped working. So let go of the story that you're broken, that you've lost this ability, that you can't do this anymore. You can. Your brain can. And it's happening right now, whether you feel it or not, whether you believe it or not. Trust your brain. It knows the way. It's finding the way. Even now. Even tonight. Your brain doesn't go straight from awake to deeply asleep. It moves through distinct stages, each one serving a different purpose. Let me walk you through this journey your brain takes every night. Right now, you might be in, or approaching, what sleep researchers call stage 1, the very lightest stage of sleep, the threshold between waking and sleeping. In stage 1, your brain waves begin to slow down from the fast beta waves of active waking consciousness, 13 to 30 cycles per second, to slower alpha waves at 8 to 12 cycles per second, and then to even slower theta waves at 4 to 7 cycles per second. Your muscle tone decreases. The slight tension you hold in your muscles during wakefulness, the readiness to move, to respond, that starts to fade. Your eyes, beneath your closed lids, might make slow, rolling movements, drifting from side to side like boats on gentle waves. You can still be easily woken from stage 1. A sound, a movement, even an intrusive thought can pull you back to full wakefulness. This stage is fragile, tentative, like standing at the edge of sleep but not yet fully in it. Stage 1 usually lasts only a few minutes, typically 5 to 10 minutes, though it can be longer if something keeps pulling you back to wakefulness. It's the gateway stage, the threshold, the moment of crossing from one world to another. Many people never consciously register this stage. They're too close to wakefulness to recognize they've left it, or they drift in and out of it multiple times, crossing back and forth across that threshold, until finally they cross it one last time and sink deeper. But it's happening, whether you notice it or not. Your brain is beginning the journey. The transition is underway. You're crossing the threshold from wake to sleep. And if you're wondering whether you're in stage 1 right now, that very wondering might mean you're in it. In that strange space where you can still think about whether you're asleep, which means you're not quite awake but not quite asleep either. The liminal space. The between. From stage 1, if left undisturbed, if you can stay relaxed and quiet, you'll slip into stage 2, light sleep, where you spend roughly half of your total sleep time across the night. In stage 2, your brain waves continue to slow into theta waves, but they're punctuated by 2 distinctive patterns that sleep researchers look for on an EEG: sleep spindles and K-complexes. Sleep spindles are sudden bursts of rapid brain activity, little explosions of fast waves that last a second or two. These spindles are thought to be your brain beginning its memory consolidation work, taking the experiences and information from today and starting to process them, to decide what's worth keeping and what can be discarded. K-complexes are single, large waves that appear suddenly. Your brain's way of checking whether sound or sensation warrants waking up. They're like a guard doing a quick patrol and deciding that's not important. We can keep sleeping. In stage 2, your heart rate slows further than it did in stage 1. Your body temperature drops another fraction of a degree. You become less and less aware of your environment, less responsive to sounds and sensations that would have woken you from stage 1. This is still relatively light sleep. You can wake from it without too much disorientation, but it's genuine sleep, not just drowsiness or the threshold. This is restorative sleep. Your body is already beginning to repair, restore, replenish. Some people spend a lot of time in stage 2 throughout the night, cycling in and out of it between periods of deeper sleep. And that's okay. That's normal. Stage 2 sleep is valuable sleep. It's not worse than deep sleep. It's different, serving different purposes. Even this light sleep is rest. Even this is healing. The neuroscientist Matthew Walker, in his book Why We Sleep, writes, "Sleep is the single most effective thing we can do to reset our brain and body health each day." And that resetting begins here, in stage 2. Not just in the deep sleep stages that feel more dramatic. The resetting, the restoration, the healing. It's happening at every stage, including this light sleep you might be entering right now. If you sink deeper still, if you can stay undisturbed and relaxed, you'll enter stage 3, deep sleep, sometimes called slow wave sleep because of the large, slow delta waves that come to dominate your brain activity. Delta waves are the slowest brain waves, less than 4 cycles per second, sometimes as slow as half a cycle per second. These huge, rolling waves represent millions of neurons firing in synchrony, creating these massive coordinated pulses of electrical activity that never happen during waking consciousness. This is the sleep that feels like falling into a well of darkness. Deep, profound, almost dreamless. This is the sleep from which it's hard to wake, and if you do wake, say, by an alarm or a loud noise, you feel disoriented, confused, groggy, like you've been pulled from somewhere very far away. In deep sleep, your body does its most intensive repair and restoration work. Growth hormone, which promotes tissue repair and muscle building, is released mainly during deep sleep. Your immune system is most active in fighting infections during deep sleep. Bone and muscle regeneration happens primarily during deep sleep. This is also when your brain does its most intensive cleaning through the glymphatic system. That waste clearance system we'll talk about more later. In deep sleep, the spaces between your neurons expand by up to 60%, allowing cerebrospinal fluid to flush through and wash away the metabolic waste that accumulated during your waking hours. You'll cycle in and out of deep sleep multiple times throughout the night, but you spend more time in it during the first half of the night. The first few sleep cycles are rich with deep sleep. This is your body saying, first priority is physical restoration. Let's get that intensive repair work done. Even if you only get 1 or 2 cycles of deep sleep, even if it's only 20 or 30 minutes total, that's valuable, restorative time. Your body is doing essential maintenance work. Your brain is cleaning itself. This matters. And you don't have to try to get to deep sleep. You don't have to force it or make it happen. If you're relaxed, if you're in a safe environment, if your brain chemistry is right, you'll naturally sink into deep sleep when your brain is ready for it. And then, after cycling through these stages, often after about 90 minutes of sleep, you'll enter a completely different type of sleep. REM sleep, rapid eye movement sleep, the stage of vivid, narrative dreaming. REM sleep is paradoxical. Your brain becomes almost as active as when you're awake. Brain waves speed back up to almost waking levels. Your eyes move rapidly beneath your closed lids, darting back and forth as if you're watching something unfold. Your heart rate increases and becomes variable. Your breathing becomes irregular, shallow and rapid. But while your brain is wildly active, your body is paralyzed, temporarily, safely paralyzed through a mechanism called muscle atonia. This paralysis is intentional, protective. It's your brain creating a safe space where you can experience anything in your dreams while your body remains still and safe, unable to act out those dreams. REM sleep is when most of your vivid, story-like dreams occur. During REM, the parts of your brain involved in emotion and memory are highly active, while the parts involved in logical reasoning and executive control are quieted. This creates the perfect conditions for dreams, emotionally intense, memory-rich, but unconstrained by logic or reality. Your brain uses REM sleep for crucial work, processing emotions, making creative connections, solving problems in non-logical ways, integrating new experiences with old memories. The default mode network, that wandering, connecting, narrative-creating network, runs while during REM, generating the surreal stories we experience as dreams. You'll cycle into REM sleep multiple times throughout the night. The first REM period might be brief, just 5 to 10 minutes, but later REM periods get progressively longer, with the final REM cycle before waking sometimes lasting 30 to 60 minutes. This is your brain saying, early in the night, physical restoration through deep sleep is priority. But as the night progresses, emotional and creative processing through REM becomes more important. Both types of sleep are essential. Both serve crucial functions. The poet Rainer Maria Rilke wrote, "Perhaps all the dragons in our lives are princesses who are only waiting to see us act, just once, with beauty and courage." In REM sleep, in dreams, you encounter dragons, fears, anxieties, unresolved emotional material. But this encountering, this dream processing of difficult emotions, is your brain's way of working through them. The nightmares, the anxiety dreams, even the bizarre and disturbing dreams, they're your brain courageously facing what your waking mind couldn't hold, processing it, trying to integrate it. So even difficult dreams serve a purpose. Even nightmares are part of your brain's night mode work. This, too, is restoration, though of a different kind than the physical restoration of deep sleep. These stages, Stage 1, Stage 2, Deep Sleep, REM, they don't happen just once in linear sequence. You cycle through them multiple times each night in a pattern sleep researchers call sleep architecture. A typical cycle might go Stage 1, Stage 2, Deep Sleep, back up to Stage 2, then into REM, then back to Stage 2, back down to Deep Sleep, and so on. These cycles repeat 4 to 6 times across a full night's sleep, each cycle lasting roughly 90 minutes, though there's variation. The proportions change across the night. Early cycles are rich in deep sleep, maybe 30 or 40 minutes of deep sleep per cycle. Later cycles have less deep sleep and more REM, sometimes no deep sleep at all in the final cycle, just alternating between Stage 2 and long REM periods. This changing architecture reflects your brain's changing priorities across the night. Early night, physical restoration through deep sleep. Middle night, balanced restoration. Late night, emotional and creative processing through REM. It's a beautiful architecture, elegantly designed. Not random, not chaotic, but carefully structured to give you what you need in the sequence you need it. And here's what's so important to understand. You don't have to know any of this for it to work. Your brain will cycle through these stages whether you understand them or not, whether you're paying attention or not, whether you believe it's happening or not. The process is automatic, ancient, reliable. I'm telling you about it not because you need to monitor it or make it happen, but because knowing might help you trust it. Trust that even if sleep feels light or broken or strange tonight, the architecture is still there. The cycling is still happening. The restoration, both physical and emotional, is still occurring. While you sleep, during all those stages we just explored, your brain is extraordinarily busy, accomplishing crucial work that can only happen during sleep. Let me tell you what it's doing for you. One of sleep's most important functions is memory consolidation, taking the fragile, temporary memories from today and weaving them into the permanent fabric of who you are. During the day, when you learn something new or have an experience worth remembering, that information gets initially stored in a brain structure called the hippocampus. But storage in the hippocampus is temporary, fragile. Those memories can easily be disrupted, overwritten, or lost. During sleep, particularly during deep sleep and REM sleep, those memories are gradually transferred from the hippocampus to the cortex for long-term storage. It's like moving files from temporary storage to permanent archives. And in the process of transferring, the memories get strengthened, stabilized, integrated with your existing knowledge. But this isn't just a passive transfer. Your sleeping brain is actively deciding what's worth keeping and what can be forgotten. It's looking for patterns, for emotional significance, for information that connects meaningfully with what you already know. The important stuff gets strengthened and preserved. The trivial stuff gets pruned away. This happens in different ways during different sleep stages. Deep sleep is particularly important for consolidating facts, skills, and sequences, the what and how of your experiences. When you learn a new skill during the day, deep sleep that night helps cement that learning. REM sleep, on the other hand, is crucial for consolidating the emotional and relational aspects of memories, the why and who of your experiences. REM sleep helps you process the emotional meaning of events, integrate them into your life narrative, understand their significance. Together, these sleep stages are literally deciding what from today becomes part of your permanent life story and what gets discarded. Your sleeping brain is curating your autobiography, choosing which moments to preserve and which to let fade. The neuroscientist Matthew Walker calls sleep the overnight therapy session. As you sleep, especially during REM, your brain is reprocessing the emotional events of the day, extracting their meaning while stripping away some of the sharp emotional charge. This is why things often feel more manageable in the morning. Why sleeping on it actually helps with difficult decisions or painful experiences. Your sleeping brain has been working on it all night, processing, integrating, softening the edges while preserving the lessons. Your brain also uses sleep to physically clean itself through something remarkable called the glymphatic system. Discovered only in 2012, surprisingly recently given how fundamental it is. During your waking hours, your brain cells are constantly active, firing millions of times per second, using energy, and in the process producing metabolic waste, proteins, cellular debris, byproducts of neural activity. This waste accumulates in the narrow spaces between your neurons throughout the day. But during sleep, especially during deep sleep, something extraordinary happens. The cells in your brain actually shrink slightly, by as much as 60%, causing the spaces between neurons to expand dramatically. And through those expanded spaces, cerebrospinal fluid flows like a tide, washing through the brain tissue, flushing away the accumulated waste, carrying it out of the brain to be filtered and disposed of by the body's lymphatic system. This glymphatic cleansing is up to 10 times more active during sleep than during waking. It's as if your brain can't afford to divert energy to cleaning while you're awake. It's too busy with conscious processing. But during sleep, when conscious processing is offline, the cleaning crew can come in and do their work. Among the waste products being cleared, beta amyloid and tau proteins, which when they accumulate over years are associated with neurodegenerative diseases like Alzheimer's. Your nightly sleep is literally preventive medicine, keeping your brain clean and healthy, reducing your risk of cognitive decline as you age. So as you lie here, drifting towards sleep or already in its early stages, trust that this process is preparing to begin. Your brain is getting ready for its nightly wash, its deep clean, its restoration of clarity and health. This happens automatically. You don't have to think about it or manage it or make it happen. You just have to sleep, and your brain does this extraordinary self-cleaning work. Sleep is also when your brain replenishes the energy stores it depleted during your waking hours. Throughout the day, your neurons have been using glycogen, a stored form of glucose, as fuel for all that thinking, processing, responding, feeling, remembering you've been doing. Every thought, every conscious moment uses energy, and by the end of the day, those stores are significantly depleted. But during sleep, glycogen stores are rebuilt. Adenosine, that sleep pressure chemical we talked about earlier, gets cleared away, removed from your brain, so tomorrow you wake without that heavy pressure to sleep. ATP, adenosine triphosphate, the energy currency that every cell in your body uses, gets replenished in your neurons. Your brain is literally recharging, like a phone plugged in overnight, restoring its power reserves for tomorrow. This energy restoration is why you can't think clearly when you're sleep deprived. It's not just that you're tired, it's that your brain is literally running on empty, trying to function without adequate energy stores. Like trying to drive a car with no gas. But tonight, as you sleep through the hours ahead, those stores will be rebuilt. The energy will be restored. You'll wake tomorrow with a full tank, ready for whatever thinking and processing and experiencing tomorrow brings. The charging is already beginning. Right now, as you rest, as your brain shifts into deeper sleep, the restoration of energy is starting. The rebuilding, the refueling. And this happens whether you sleep lightly or deeply, whether you remember dreaming or not. As long as you're sleeping, the energy restoration is occurring. Your sleeping brain also coordinates your immune system's crucial nighttime work. During sleep, your immune system releases cytokines, proteins that help fight infection and inflammation. It produces antibodies. It ramps up the activity of T cells and natural killer cells, the immune cells that target viruses and abnormal cells. This is why when you're sick, when you have a cold or flu or any infection, you need more sleep than usual. Your immune system is doing intensive work, and it needs the particular conditions that sleep provides to do that work effectively. Sleep deprivation, on the other hand, severely weakens immune function. Studies show that even one night of poor sleep can reduce the activity of natural killer cells, those crucial cancer and virus-fighting cells, by up to 70%. One night. The effect is that dramatic. Conversely, good sleep strengthens immune function. People who sleep well are significantly more resistant to infections. When exposed to a cold virus, well-rested people are 3 times less likely to actually get sick compared to sleep-deprived people. So as you rest tonight, know that your immune system is using this time to strengthen, restore, prepare. Your sleep is literally making you healthier, more resilient, more able to resist illness and heal from injury. This is not optional wellness advice. This is biological necessity. Your immune system needs sleep to function properly. Without it, you become vulnerable. With it, you become resilient. The Buddhist teacher Pema Chodron teaches, the most fundamental aggression to ourselves, the most fundamental harm we can do to ourselves, is to remain ignorant by not having the courage to look at ourselves honestly and gently. Part of looking at ourselves honestly is recognizing our need for sleep, not as weakness or laziness or an inconvenient biological limitation, but as essential maintenance. Your body needs this. Your immune system needs this. Your brain needs this. Giving your body the sleep it needs is an act of self-care, of self-respect, of self-love. It's choosing health. It's choosing resilience. It's choosing to support the systems that keep you alive and well. We're deep into the night now, deep into your brain's transition into sleep. And I want to help you trust it completely, to release any remaining grip of control. Here's the most important thing I can tell you, the truth that changes everything. You don't need to make any of this happen. Everything I've described tonight, the neurochemical shifts from wake chemicals to sleep chemicals, the stage transitions from light to deep to REM, the memory consolidation, the brain cleaning, the energy restoration, the immune strengthening, all of it happens automatically. Your brain knows how to do all of this without your conscious involvement. In fact, trying to consciously control or force the process usually interferes with it. The more you try to make yourself sleep, the more you activate the very brain networks that need to go quiet for sleep to occur. Effort creates wakefulness. So your job tonight isn't to make sleep happen. Your job is to allow it, to create the conditions, darkness, quiet, rest, safety, and then step back, to trust the process. This can be incredibly hard if you're used to making things happen through effort and will. If you've spent your life solving problems through determination and persistence and trying harder, those strategies work for many things, but they don't work for sleep. Sleep doesn't respond to effort. Sleep responds to release, to letting go, to trust. The Taoist concept of Wu Wei, often translated as non-action or effortless doing, applies perfectly to sleep. Wu Wei is not doing nothing. It's aligning yourself with natural processes and letting them unfold. It's knowing when not to interfere. You achieve sleep through Wu Wei, not by doing nothing, but by doing the right things, lying down, closing your eyes, relaxing your body, quieting your environment, and then releasing the need to control what happens next. You allow sleep by not trying to make it happen. But what about when thoughts keep coming? When your mind won't quiet even though your body is tired and ready for sleep? First, understand this crucial truth. Thoughts arising don't mean night mode isn't working. Your brain can still be transitioning towards sleep even while thoughts appear. The two aren't mutually exclusive. The difference between waking thoughts and sleep transition thoughts is not whether they're present, but how you relate to them. During the day, you engage with thoughts. You follow them, elaborate on them, solve them, analyze them, have opinions about them. But in night mode, in the transition towards sleep, you can let thoughts arise and pass without engagement, without following, without feeding them with attention. Think of thoughts like clouds drifting across the sky. The clouds don't require anything from you. You don't have to do anything about them. You don't have to make them go away or understand them or solve them. They appear, they drift across your awareness, they pass on. That's all. Your thoughts can be the same way during night mode. A worry appears about tomorrow, about something you said today, about something you need to do. You notice it, the way you might notice a cloud, but you don't have to engage with it. You can let it drift through your awareness and out again, like a cloud across a sky. This isn't suppressing thoughts. Suppression doesn't work. Trying not to think about something makes you think about it more. This is different. This is just not feeding thoughts with attention, not following them, not engaging. You remain resting, settled, even as thoughts pass through. Like the sky remains the sky even as clouds pass across it. The thoughts are just weather. The awareness that notices them, that's the sky. Rest in being the sky. Some nights, sleep feels close. You can feel yourself drifting toward it, sense its nearness, almost touch it. Those are the easy nights. Other nights, maybe tonight, sleep feels far away, unreachable. Like something you'll never get to no matter how long you lie here trying. On those nights, I want you to remember something important. The feeling of distance doesn't always reflect reality. Sometimes we feel furthest from sleep right before we slip into it. The subjective experience isn't always accurate. Your brain might be much closer to sleep than it feels. The chemistry might be nearly aligned. You might be one thought drift away, one muscle release away, one breath away from crossing the threshold. But even if sleep does take longer tonight than you'd prefer, even if you spend hours in this transition phase, drifting in that in-between state, that's okay. That's still valuable. Because rest isn't only sleep. Lying in bed with your eyes closed, even if you're awake, provides rest. Your body is still horizontal, still in darkness, still releasing some of the day's tension. Your heart rate is still slower than when you're sitting up. Your muscles are still softer than when you're active. This counts. This matters. This is not wasted time. Even if you don't sleep as deeply or as quickly as you'd like, you're still resting. And rest has value. The philosopher Bertrand Russell wrote, "One of the symptoms of an approaching nervous breakdown is the belief that one's work is terribly important." I'd add, one of the symptoms of approaching peace is the belief that sleep is not terribly urgent. That whether it comes in 5 minutes or 50 minutes, you'll be okay. That your worth doesn't depend on how quickly you fall asleep. That you can trust your brain to find its way in its own time. I keep returning to this truth because it's so essential, so foundational. Your brain knows what it's doing. It has been managing this transition from wake to sleep every single night of your life. From before you were born, actually, even in the womb, the developing brain practices sleep-wake cycles. This is ancient knowledge, programmed into your biology. Your brain has refined this process through millions of years of evolution, through hundreds of thousands of years of human history, through every single night of your individual existence. It knows exactly what chemistry to release, what networks to quiet, what stages to move through, what work to accomplish. Even if this specific night feels unfamiliar or strange, even if you're not sure it's working, your brain is working perfectly. The ancient systems are engaged. The process is underway. The transition is happening. You can trust this. You can lean into it. You can let your brain be the expert it is at transitioning you from day mode to night mode, from wakefulness to sleep, from one state of consciousness to another entirely different state. And tomorrow morning, when you wake, Whether you remember falling asleep or not, whether the night felt long or short, whether you dreamed vividly or barely at all, you'll know that your brain accomplished its night mode work. Memory consolidation, brain cleaning, energy restoration, immune strengthening, all of it will have happened while you weren't paying attention. Because that's what your brain does. Every night. Reliably. Beautifully. Without fail. It knows how to rest. It knows how to restore. It knows how to prepare you for tomorrow. And so we arrive at the end of our time together tonight. Though for your brain, the journey through the night is just beginning. If these gentle journeys are meaningful to you, I invite you to like, subscribe, or share a reflection below. It helps other restless minds find their way here. But for now, just rest. Tonight, I've walked you through what happens in your brain as it shifts into night mode. We've seen how light and darkness signal your circadian clock, how that clock coordinates your entire body's rhythm. How melatonin rises as darkness arrives, carrying its message of nighttime to every cell. How adenosine accumulates throughout the day, creating sleep pressure that becomes harder to ignore. We've explored how neurotransmitters shift their balance, wake chemicals dropping, sleep chemicals rising, your brain's chemistry transforming to create the perfect conditions for sleep. We've traveled through the stages of sleep, from the threshold of stage 1 through the light sleep of stage 2, into the deep restorative sleep of stage 3, and finally into the vivid dreaming world of REM sleep. Each stage serving its purpose, each transition elegant and necessary. And we've discovered what your sleeping brain accomplishes while you're unaware, consolidating memories, cleaning out metabolic waste, restoring energy reserves, strengthening immune defenses, processing emotions, making creative connections. All of this to help you understand, sleep is not passive. Your sleeping brain is not idle. Night mode is an active, sophisticated, essential state that your brain enters with extraordinary precision and grace. You are not just turned off during sleep. You are transformed, restored, renewed. Your sleeping brain is doing work that can only be done during sleep, work that's crucial for your health, your memory, your emotional well-being, your very survival. My deepest hope is that understanding this process has changed how you relate to sleep. That instead of seeing sleep as something you have to fight for or force to happen, you can see it as something your brain naturally does when given the right conditions. Like breathing, like digestion, like healing, a natural process that happens automatically when you remove the barriers. That instead of fearing you're doing it wrong when your mind wanders or time feels strange or you experience odd sensations, you can recognize these as signs that night mode is working, that the transition is underway, that your brain is successfully shifting states. That instead of lying here anxious and alert, trying to make sleep happen through effort, you can rest in the knowledge that your brain knows exactly what it's doing, that the process is already underway, that you're being carried towards sleep by systems far more ancient and wise than conscious thought. Understanding is not about control. You don't understand these processes so you can manage them. You understand them so you can trust them, so you can release the need to control and simply allow what's already happening. And trust, deep trust in your brain's wisdom, in your body's ability to rest and restore. That trust allows release, and release allows sleep. Every night of your life, your brain performs this miracle, this transformation from day mode to night mode, from waking consciousness to sleep, from one kind of being to another entirely different kind of being. It's so familiar, so routine, that you probably don't think of it as miraculous. But it is. This ability to shift states, to enter different forms of consciousness, to accomplish different kinds of work while you're not even aware, it's extraordinary. You can be awake, alert, thinking, responding, fully conscious one moment, and an hour later, you can be unconscious, dreaming, experiencing elaborate realities that your brain is creating entirely from imagination. That's remarkable. That's a kind of magic. And tonight, right now, as you lie here, that transformation is happening. That magic is real. Your brain is shifting modes, changing states, beginning its nightly journey through sleep's different territories. Before I let you go fully into the night, let me offer this. Maybe, with whatever awareness remains, you can feel some gratitude for this brain of yours. This 3-pound organ that has carried you through every single day of your life, that has processed every sight and sound and sensation you've ever experienced, that has held every memory, generated every thought, felt every feeling, that has solved problems, navigated relationships, learned skills, created ideas, that has felt joy and sorrow, fear and love, wonder and peace, that has made you who you are, moment by moment, thought by thought, experience by experience. And now, at night, it's still caring for you, still working for you, shifting into this different mode so it can clean itself, restore itself, prepare itself for another day of carrying you through life. Your brain is a gift, an extraordinary gift, and night mode is part of that gift, this automatic, elegant, reliable transition that happens every night, asking nothing from you except that you lie down in the dark and allow it. So perhaps, with your last conscious thoughts tonight, if you have any last conscious thoughts tonight, you can thank your brain for its day work and its night work, for its tireless service, for its remarkable capacity to care for you, to restore you, to renew you. Thank you, brain, for knowing how to shift into night mode, for knowing how to rest, for knowing how to restore, for carrying me through another day and now carrying me into the restoration of sleep. Thank you for this nightly miracle, for this transformation, for this gift of rest. I'll see you soon. May your rest be deep, and your dreams be gentle.